So, in the midst of her storm, my very good friend, Dr. Dinah, uh, was gracious enough to think of me. She knows that I've wanted the DVD sets for a long time based on the course we all took when her and Rico and Joe Good and Ryan White gave us a weekend, actually 4 days worth of solid information about the temple. So I got this in the mail. Okay, let's see, can you see that? Okay, so I came home Saturday night from speaking with the youth, young people. There's a Bible study here that's been going on for a long time with a bunch of young adults, and they asked me to speak, and so I shared on a couple of things. I shared on rest. Didn't have all my notes. It was kind of impromptu thing. I wasn't really prepared. But I've gotten several emails from several of the young people going, wow, that was amazing. So Dinah sent this to me. Dinah, letting the cat out the bag. Now, I also have the book of notes. So these 3 volumes contain several CDs. It's not just one. So there's several in each one of these cases. And the set cost $200, and I was blessed to have it gifted to me. Thank you very much, Dinah. I really, really, really appreciate it. But even more so, and the reason I'm making this little tiny video is because I want to say something. You know, we keep learning. The more we walk away from the traditional theological conversation and start really studying ourselves, start really checking other resources that corroborate a lot of the biblical text, the more we begin to kind of in a way dismantle some of the stuff we've taught. Now, it's not possible for me to say that there was no cross and there was no resurrection. That's not possible. It's just, based on what I know now, it's just not possible. It's not possible for me to completely absorb myself in rabbinic tradition. Not possible. Not possible for me to grab and hang on to as tight as possible the Christian upbringing that I had, because I've just found so many holes in it that it's not possible. What I'm trying to say is it's not possible for me to maintain a religious framework of the Bible. More so, I'm now able to see it as a kingdom, revelation of a kingdom and a creator and a land and a people that he chose to reveal what he's doing. So I see it as a historical account of the restoration of mankind from whenever we went sideways to introducing the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. I see it as it's like any other country on the face of the earth. In other words, every country on the face of the earth is a facsimile. The problem is we've raised up rulers to represent the kind of government that the Creator has in mind. We just perverted it. So I see this as an evolving story, or a de-evolving story, because the more that I study and the more that I go back and learn from others, not necessarily studying the Bible because I got to find out what's going on in here, but studying from others in order to really get a hold of why this book exists, the more I start learning. And so it's easier for me to take the biblical narrative that we've had for the last 1,800 years and take it out of a theological conversation and just really just kind of research the historical account. And the one thing that our societies today are doing a very good job at is erasing history or rewriting history. So as I read John Walton and study from Rico and Pastor Mark Bilton and everybody else, as I go back and read about anti-Semitism in the churches, and I realize how it affected us, and as I step away from the whole religious framework, and I begin to see that, well, serpents really don't talk to women, and there is no such thing as the four-headed beast, I start putting this in a more of a human story about a supernatural thing taking place, which is the restoration of life. So I'm just trying to say to you people that the more we go back and uncover the really the crap that's been piled on top of what the Father's doing, what Adonai is doing, what God Almighty is doing, the more we uncover that, the more the story becomes more human, more easy to kind of gestate, if you will. Because the more we go back and look at what the Bible is communicating and how it is communicating, for some reason, the Creator wanted these words etched into stone, if you will, or parchment, thousands of years ago. They apply to every generation. But for some reason, He wanted us to understand what was being written through the eyes of those writers. And what we've done is we've taken letters and a confirmation, if you will, and we've turned it into a theological charade, in my opinion. And we've completely discarded a lot of the Old Testament. And then, of course, the Jews, they completely discarded the letters and the confirmation. So I'm all done with that, okay? For me, it's grab a hold of some of the resources that have been written throughout history about this biblical narrative and find my own way. And that meant that I had to let go of a lot of the things that I was taught. I had to really challenge myself to say, well, that doesn't make sense. You know what? It really doesn't make sense. And so for most of us who are coming out of the traditional understanding, you realize that journey going back is just as long as the story itself. And so you have to keep digging, and you have to keep learning, and you have to keep listening. We're fighting a culture that doesn't want anything to do with us. Okay? Well, that's not new. That's not something that our generation holds the... we don't hold the key to that ideology. That's always been the case. That's why the world is in chaos. So, as I try to share, and guys, listen, I am not a teacher. Okay, people call me a teacher. I'm not a teacher. I'm studying. I got books here. I got a whole shelf of books over there that you can't see. I study and I research and I look and I learn and I go to these conferences and I go because the information helps me understand better what the God of creation is doing. I just don't do it in a religious context. I just don't. So, and then I share it with you guys. I share with you the information and we can have a conversation about it. I'm not trying to change your theology. I'm not trying to change what you believe. I'm just simply sharing with you what I've learned and talking about some of the people I've learned it from. So, when you're talking to me, I'm not having a theological conversation. I'm telling you about historical stuff that I've studied and researched and people that have helped me to do that. So just keep that in mind when you're talking to Jeff. And I'm not a teacher. I'm not an eloquent speaker. I'm a black dude from New York, folks. Just bottom line, okay? Don't have no doctorates. Don't have no degrees. I'm just a person who is in love with the God of the Bible and loves the people that He created in this earth. And I just want to understand as much as I possibly can about Thy kingdom come. It's that simple. I'm not racially minded. I'm not a bigot. I don't believe in anti-Semitism. I don't believe in sitting in the church with all three of those things as a foundation somewhere in my core. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not a person who jumps on the bandwagon of multiculturalism, African American, all. God Almighty, I'm not that person either. I am a son of the Most High. And I want to understand His ways. And as a citizen of His kingdom, I want to represent what He's doing based on my covenant relationship with the King. That's all. For those of you who would like to go through this set with me, I'm going to figure out a way to do this. I'm going to figure out a way to bring Rico and Joe Good and Dina Dye here. I'm going to figure this out, God willing, if it kills me. Because when I ask you, what is a temple? I get all of these abstract, we are the temple, blah, blah, blah. No, what is the temple? Because most of us don't know. This course will blow your mind. It certainly blew my mind. And then you can decide whether to eat the chicken and leave the bones or not. But I want to get this, I want to present this to people, particularly young people. So I need a house a place to do this, a television set, and a DVD player, because this ain't working on my computer for some reason. Anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great week. Talk to you later. Love you. Bye.